Welcome back, my friends, to a very nice sunny day, the royal wedding, and of course not forgetting the tour of both of my allotments and how I've been getting on. This is the Compost Bin Run Off. As you can see now, I've got some guttering on there and it's been collected in that barrel, and I've made a box. It's very light. It's one of those boards that I used in the grow room, the foam insulation and silver backing, with some guttering. It's all covered up now, and I'm not getting so much liquid, but I'm also collecting any moisture and some good nutrients. We'll have a quick look inside. So this is better now for me to work around this. The worms are busy in there, and at a later date I'll show you the material that's at the bottom. I can't actually use a fork or a shovel in here because if I damage the plastic I'll end up losing the liquid. The nettles and the comfrey is breaking down rather quickly now, and it's yes, that's it. Let's shut the lid. Nettle's not doing too bad. Obviously there's quite a few in there. I've got the chippings, the rock dust drying from #garden makeover. That was in bags and it's got wet over the winter. Coffee grounds, I've started collecting those again, and I've made a start on getting those root balls broken up and getting the compost. Letting the root balls dry out has done it the world of good. The birds have been pecking at it and they've helped me, and I've been drying these, just getting the last bit of cocoa coir out of those. I've covered some of the strawberries, hopefully to keep the birds off. And I just want to know, before I start pulling these out, is that a weed? There's quite a few about and I wasn't quite sure. Must get that sorted if it is a weed. I've also got these glass cloches off my father. Well, I borrowed them off him. Probably won't give them back, but he's it saves fighting over them when they're no longer here, so he's dishing out a few things. And I've got to have a look at Nick's allotment, that's NIC, to see how he puts these together. We wasn't quite sure, so I'm going to be checking your video out, Nick. First earlies, Pentel and Javelin, two varieties of tomatoes. There's my peach tree, pomegranate right at the back. These seem to have missed all these frosts, and I'm lucky enough, one of the grapevines that are outside, my own cutting, has taken off nicely. The others haven't fared so well, but I have noticed that there is a little bud there, so hopefully that may take. If not, I'll try again. All of the fruit trees have taken, bar from what I believe to be the cherries. So that's one there. This one I believe is a cherry, but that's taken okay. But it's not looking very happy. That was some growth there, and then it hasn't materialised. These are the ones that were sat in the buckets for 12 months. But we'll see. We'll just nurse them along. This is where the vine weevil population was, in these tubs. Now they're probably sitting there now waiting for these young crowns to grow and then nibble away at them. But I'm definitely not going to get rid of the compost on the plot. They can stay there until they starve to death. But they're doing quite well, really. These spare rhubarb crowns, I think I'm going to pop them on into bigger pots, get them into the 56 litre bags that I'll get off the side of the road. Mind you, might not, well, as long as I don't disturb the roots they'll be okay, but they're a bit restricted in those small pots. There's no show on the small seed potato experiment. The larger one is growing well, and no show yet on the potato in the bucket of stones. But the trays underneath are working really well to keep the moisture in. The harbour's now completed, and after a bit of tidying up, I'll have some enjoyable chill time there. I might even try and grow that grapevine that's grown in that corner up and over it, give me that little bit extra shade. These soft fruits are doing well. Really pleased with the rhubarb. I've been picking off 4 crowns, and we're due another lot soon. Lots of seed heads, but we're keeping on top of those. Autumn fruiting raspberries, strawberries are on both sides. Blackberries are now flowering, so we've got a row of blackberries there, again with strawberries either side, and strawberries either side the autumn fruiting raspberries, and some of those now are even getting the flower heads on them. Let's move on to plot 3. Right, we're in the fruit cage on plot 3, and as you can see, we've got the new growth there, the old growth there, and it's amazing how quickly these grow. And even the now, is that the new growth or the old? No, that's on the old growth. There's the new growth. How quickly it does grow this time of the year. And the old growth has gone up and above 6 foot, all the way across. But the amount of fruit that's going to be on this is going to be incredible. Really looking forward to it. Blueberries are going to do really well this year by the look of it. Black currants and red currants. This is what we try and achieve with the black currants and all the fruit bushes, is to get the centre took out. But they do quickly fill in, but they do stand a chance of less disease. We're in the brassica cage, and I've took out all the docks and other bits that are causing issues, and it won't be long now before I get all the cabbages in, and we'll talk more about the 60-day broccoli in the onion cage. Started the first pickings off the chard, just taking the odd leaf off. It's quite nice. So we're now in the onion cage, and if you remember, I had some sprouting broccoli sent me 60-day. Unfortunately, I'm on day 64, and as you can see, I'm a little bit late. But I'm going to be trying some of that this weekend. So it looks like if I'd have been here on day 60, which I probably was, but very busy, it's true to its word. When I broke the stem off this one, it was very, very tender, broke off very easily, so I can see this being quite a nice addition to a cooked meal. These are the red onions that I always plant and said I wouldn't in the autumn, and normally, I say normally, still might happen, but as you can see now, they're just bulking out nicely, and I have done a few things differently. I am watering regularly, and they perhaps had a bit more of a feed than I would normally give them. The leeks doing absolutely fine in there, no signs of any damage or anything, and I think they're elephant. They'll be going into the potato containers as soon as I harvest the first earlies. The Calcei onions from Pete's back garden. Some of them are bulking out quite nicely now, but again, look at the difference there, and they're seems to be doing quite well in the wood chips. It's not all wood chips. I have put a bit of soil in there, but I am going to be experimenting with wood chips next year from out of the paths where the white fungi is growing. It might not be mycorrhizal fungi, but it may be a good fungi that's going to help me out instead of buying mycorrhizal. I may not have done this quite right for the long show carrots. I've got 1 or 2 good ones there, maybe 2 in this. There's one that's definitely gone in the middle of the screen, but we'll see how they get on, and there'll be a separate video later on some of the bits that I'm doing. There's the Jerusalem artichokes, and when I cleared the old bed where some of the artichokes had started sprouting again, they were on such small slithers of skin, it was unbelievable. But I'll persist, and hopefully I'll get rid of all those. Successional sowing of radishes. It's not been too bad, but I have been leaving them in a little bit too long and they've gone a little bit tough. But those 3 have been, these 3 now, the first 3 successionals have been picked. Carrots, successional, I'll sow these every so often, and obviously they're still a bit young yet, but I'm not thinning them. Exactly like William says, have some nice tender sweet carrots. So they're all there at different stages. And just beyond, I'll have to move around. These are the Nantis 5 carrots that I sowed in the buckets 19th of the 7th of last year, so that's 19th of July. They're growing well now, so I can't see them being any good, but I will do a reveal on them and see what they look and taste like. Not lost many peas considering how many there are in the guttering, and I soon surrounded it with the netting to stop the pigeons. What they do, if you can cover them, but they'll actually walk in. Trouble is, don't know how I'm going to get in there. But I've had no leaf cutting at the moment, but as you can see I've got some coffee grounds, and I'm going to be scattering coffee grounds along the front edge, both sides, which does deter the mice and the slugs, because the mice will come, climb up the peas, cut the pods off, drag them down, and then they'll plant them in the broad bean bed. Sure, I can't quite see it guys at the moment, but right, there she is. So I don't know whether to let the mice sow the peas for me. That'll be my first couple of pea pods. Lovely. Broad beans are looking absolutely glorious now. All that worry's now over. So these are the parsnips in the tall boxes. They've got to be at least 4 foot high. They're okay. Like we said before, I've had to re-sow every single one. Not one germinated of the other variety, so it's all Gladiator F1 now. So this is 2 blue containers stood on top of one another, so they'll be the show parsnips, again at the same sort of stage. I've now sowed the other half for the sweet candles, and where you can see the bottles in the far side are where the slugs have had a little nibble, or when I was weeding, whoops, pulled the wrong one out. And now this is all Enviro meshed. I'm going to leave the top off for now because I'm a little bit tight, but this does lift up from this direction to get easy access to it. It's a bit over the top, but it hasn't cost me nothing. Giant cabbage. This is a red cabbage, like a heavy cabbage, and we've got one of the giants there, the Swede, and we'll be looking more at how I prepare these pipes and etc. containers to take the giants. Hashtag Potato Tower Challenge. I've just topped this up with leaves. The next layer will be some of that spent compost we saw earlier. It's not going to add anything to the potatoes, because I do believe, like everyone said, the potatoes will only grow at the bottom, but what a great place to compost our materials while we wait. the hashtag Sarpo Miro seed potato. This is their second year, and hopefully this year I'll get a good crop of what may be Sarpos, but we'll wait and see. So 3 out of the 2 dustbins have now reached the surface. This is last year's rainbow chard, and I'm still picking until it eventually goes to seed, which won't be long. Now I'll either let it go to seed and save some seed, or I'll just pull it out. But now I'm got chard for 12 months of the year, so we've got our first success. These have come from the grow room. Now look at the red cabbage that I bought out the grow room early compared to the cabbages that are in this pot. They do love the space, and lesson learned there. And I'll be starting my cabbages off a lot early to get the giant up and running, but what a difference the liquid plant food and the material I've got in here helps them along, so I know I can improve. Hashtag Sunflower Challenge from Nick, and Sunflower Challenge 2018 or something similar. That's brilliant. And Nick, your prize for my competition has been dispatched from the suppliers, and it's on its way to you. Hope you got my message. But yeah, I'm going to get those planted today. I think that'll be okay considering the frost that we have had, but I can always protect them. I must get them in the ground. They do so much better in the ground. Cut and grow. I've put some of the spare chard into one of those square buckets. That's the compost, the cannabis growers kindly left me on the side of the road, and got all the lettuce in now, all different sorts, and I'm cutting and picking those as well. But the remarkable difference in the lettuce once it's planted makes all the difference. Now in the centre of the screen is the chitted beans, and there are the ordinary beans. So to be truthful, it ain't made much of a difference. I've taken some of my giants up to a secret location in an ancient muck heap. So we're limited now, so I'm going to be planting these. Now these 2 here, can anyone tell me from that what they are? Because if you remember, I did a challenge, or not a challenge, but an experiment, leaving the courgette, the butternut squash and everything in pots, and then the mice pinched them. But they all started coming up in these tubs. Nice potato. I don't know why I bother sowing tomatoes. I might as well just pick them out of these containers from my homemade compost. But yes, so we're opening this up a little bit now, and these are the courgettes. They're desperate to get in the ground. May have sowed them too early. Got the flowers, some lettuce, some beetroot. The world record for heavy chilli, and there's the longs. I've got 2 of each, 2 parsnips, a bit of weeding to do in here, and we've got a moneymaker on the left, Gigantimo on the right. Now similar to what Brent does on his channel, Cut and Grow, on a smaller scale, but all the spare, when I actually potted them up, so we potted them up into pots ready to go outside into those street lamp covers. All the remaining are put into these containers. Sorry about the shadows, and I can't pick it quick enough, but that's good. Carrots inside compared to the carrots outside, massive difference. Watercress aqua, that's there. I've got some in some pots, and I'm going to put that around the celery and see if it'll work in the bog garden. You'll get to see that shortly. well, in another video. And these are the flowers, and the dahlias at the back there in the middle of the screen. My only surviving cucumber. Now that's also got a flower on it similar to the others, but again, I'll be learning lessons not to bring them out too early. So these will be the show parsnips, changed from white gem to gladiator F1s, and then we've got the long carrots inside. They're doing slightly better, so I've got to protect them a bit more. These are the onions that Dan's from Allotment Diary, and they are thickening up quite nicely now. And as you see, I'm making use of the space everywhere. Got tomatoes at the back. That's one of the in the middle of the screen there, one of the cucumbers that didn't make it. But looking at some of the growers, oh dear me, I've got some catching up to do. But I'm having great fun trying, absolutely enjoying it, and that's what it's all about. And what we can't show, we'll eat. Yum yum. And there's that Gigantimo tomato. It looks a little bit not right, but they were F1s, so I've got plenty. I'll be able to use this compost around these giant veg, so that the fleshy bit doesn't get to see the sun. Oh, and I've just spotted another flower on what possibly is a courgette. So that's one of the long carrots. I'll be showing you how this thing works, because it's the bit of drainage pipe cut in half, cable tied together, and then when you open it up you don't disturb the roots, similar to my yoghurt pots. Yes, I'll be interested if anybody can recognise those. I don't want to grow any marrows this time, but there might be, I don't think they look like cucumbers, but there might be butternut squash. Help me out, guys. I've got 3 grapevines in the polytunnel. These 2 were the ones I bought a year after the main one. This one's doing a lot better. As you can see, it's coming down the polytunnel nicely, and the grapes are forming, so we'll be cutting these back, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 buds, getting rid of that, and so forth. So everything's coming off there, but unfortunately the main grapevine, the one that's 3 years old possibly, has gone. I'm going to put the secateurs through it to see if there's any green growth down there, but it was behind the grow room, and I'm not sure whether you can see, it's down there. It looks like it's rootified itself behind the grow room, and I'm just wondering whether that's jiggered it up, but there's no new shoots down the bottom. But never mind, these things happen. I'm getting the weeds growing all around here, so I think now with the wood chips I've got left, I'm going to fill all this in. Won't hurt. I can leave them lampshades in place now permanently and just rejuvenate the soil compost with my liquid plant foods. Happy gardening to you all. Enjoy your day, especially if you're watching the royal wedding. You can always watch this while you're watching that. Till next time, my friends. Ta-ra for now.